Good morning, everybody. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. We've got a really bad windstorm going on now, and do you hear like a hum or anything that's loud coming across the live? Let me know if you do. I don't know what's going on with the sound that I can hear if I have my speakers on and what I don't when I turn them off. I just need to know, is there, okay, so there's no sound that you're hearing that's like wind chimes that just won't stop. That's the best way I can explain it. Okay, well that's good because I'm not sure what was going on. Okay, good. It had me worried. It had me shutting everything down and starting all over, and so it's on my end, but I'm not really sure where it's coming from. Like I said, we've got a really bad wind conditions right now, so hopefully we don't lose power before our time is up. Okay, I'm gonna quit worrying about it. Everything seems fine on your end, so that's all good. Thank you for joining me. For those who are new, my name is Julie Heights. I live in Toledo, Ohio, and I'm a independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Only been at it a couple of years as far as being a demo, but it's been about 1 year and 4 months that I've been doing lives, and I really, really enjoy it. And I've made so many new friends this way that you can catch me here every Thursday unless something comes up. And I have a passion for quilts. I haven't sewn any quilts in a few years, but I've always had that love of quilts, and I did make quilts for a while. And I love to paper craft, so I have found a way that I can combine both. And it seems like there's a lot of you out there who feel the same way. So welcome. Today we're going to do strip quilts. They can also be called string quilts. When I used to make a lot of them, I made them and they were the size of like a small to a medium-sized dog or cats could lay on. It was like a big placemat. But I donated them to local shelters for their animals to lay on, the pets to lay on while they're waiting to find their forever homes. And every quilter knows that a cat can't resist a quilt. So it seemed like a really good thing to be doing. And I haven't done them in a while, but I found a way that we can do them in our paper crafting. And so that's the project for today. You may have seen the card that we're going to do today. I posted it this morning. I have 3 other variations that I want to show you when we're done so that you can take that 3x4 strip quilt, cut them up differently to make different cards. It really is just like designer series paper when we're all done. So you can cut it up quite a few different ways to use it, not necessarily just for how we're going to do it today. Okay, a few reminders, Stampin' Up! Wise. Today's the last day for the promotion where the mini Stampin' Cut Emboss machine is 20% off with selected dies. So that ends today. I don't know which way to move. Here we go. But this behind me is the card display that is part of the last chance items that are retiring. As you can see, it stands pretty tall. You get 12 clips that you can hang photos on this, your cards. You can even use this for decor. You could put some greenery around it. I even yesterday was playing around and started hanging earrings and jewelry on it. So if that intrigues you, then you might want to go over to my online store. I believe the item number is 153610, and you can get that for $15. It's half price right now. These would make great gifts for Christmas or whatever. And this is while supplies last. So if you know someone who could use something like this, then you might want to head over and get one before they're all gone. So I'm excited that here in May, we're going to be getting the new catalog. We'll be able to shop the new catalog. I have seen it online. Demonstrators got a sneak peek. I haven't got my hard copy in the mail yet. But there are so many cute things in this catalog. So it's going to be exciting. I don't think I can think of anything else. So I'm going to flip the camera around and we will get started. And I don't know why this is always so like new to me. How many times have I done this? But trying to flip things around. Is it that one? Okay, now come on. Okay, here we go. There we go. Now, just to flip some things around so that you are seeing everything in the right orientation. And I'm going to bring things a little closer to me. And hello, everybody. I'm sorry I didn't get to call you out by name. That running behind just kind of got me discombobulated. So, hello. Let's see. Nancy and Mary and Lori and Patricia, Joanne, Doris, Susan, Josephine, Vesta, Janice, Sharon, Michaeline, Kathy, Noreen. Oh my goodness, so many people on. Hi, Mindy. Yes, we got a double header today, Mindy. Karen. Wow, good morning, everybody. Hi, Pat and Robin. Hi, Della. If y'all could give Pat some hearts. She's recovering from a little bit of surgery, so she's at home today and gets a chance to watch. Because really, she should be doing nothing but resting and just resting and just observing. Hi, Paula. Okay, so this is the card that we're going to be making. And it all starts with a 3x5, the strip pieces. And then we cut it down into 1-inch squares. We're going to rearrange them so that we're creating like little X's with our lines, giving it some movement. So yesterday I had posted that if you wanted to take a scrap piece of 3x4 paper, if I said 5 before, I'm sorry, I meant 3x4. I just had some extra scraps of grid paper left over, so that's what I used. And I had shown you some pictures that if you wanted to start putting your strips down, kind of ends up looking something like this. And we're going to go through it. I'm only going to glue down a handful just to show you how to do it. and then we'll come back and we'll cut all of our tails off here. But who doesn't always have all of these pieces left over when you're cutting designer series paper down, even cardstock? You always have a lot of pieces left over. This little tray here I got at the Dollar Tree, and so it collects my strips that I cut off when I'm cutting something down to, instead of 4 1/4, maybe I need to trim it down to 4. All of my scraps go in here. And the fun thing about this technique is you just want to mix up everything. Don't put too much thought process into it. Give yourself permission to play. Then after that, if you want to use a collection of designer series paper, certainly do that if you're wanting to go with a specific theme or combination of colors. But what's fun about strip quilts, it's meant to use up all your bits and just throw them together. And they might not look like anything that's appealing to you because it's a hodgepodge, okay? But once you cut all this chaos, to me this is chaos and it makes my brain crazy. But once you cut all of that off, you're going to be so pleasantly surprised about what you've got going on in your, what you've just really created designer series paper at this point. You'll be pleasantly surprised and you are going to like it. When I first started doing strip quilts, when I was in this process, I thought, how in the world is this going to be cute? But once I trimmed all that fabric off and got my, squared everything up to the size that I wanted, I was really liking it at that point. And so if you find yourself in that situation, just give it a chance, okay? So here we've got all of our bits. And I'm going to set this one piece aside for right now because I just want to give you a start into how we're doing this. Now, you can make these as big as you want, but for today's card, this is all we need. And what I am using liquid glue. And what I'm going to start by doing is I like to put a wider strip on the diagonal through the middle. And what is really important is because we are using so many different strips and we're going to be cutting this down, what you want to do is make sure that you have good glue coverage. Oh my goodness, come on, glue. Not now. Okay, you know what? I'm not fighting with this one. We're going to get a brand new one. Never a dull moment on a live. So you really want to just, and then I'm like just making a zigzag. Here's my zigzag stitching. And if it's too wide, that's okay because you're going to be putting more strips next to that. So I'm just going to reach in here, and you want to make sure that your strip is long enough to cover the piece. And I'm just going to lay this down. If it moves around, it doesn't have to be perfect. But that's going to be my starting spot, okay? And then what I like to do is I like to go wide, narrow, and just, just keep grabbing into my stash here, looking for the sizes that I need. And trying not to plan. It's so hard. So I don't need as much glue for this piece. So we're just going to run a bead along there. And I like to do one side at once and then flip it around and do the other side. you want to make sure that you're butting your seams up to each other. Just walk it. You want to make sure that those strips are down. You'll find which ones aren't when you go to chop it up and you got corners that are lifted, and that's easy to fix. You just put a little bit of glue behind them. And just to get started, since I have some glue showing on this side, I'm going to go ahead and put another narrow piece of cardstock or designer series paper up against this. Again, I like to challenge myself and just grab and just see what happens. And now all I'm going to do is finish off this one side. Again, here I'm just going to put my zigzag. Make sure that when I get to the edges, I got glue all the way down so that it's holding it. And then the narrower strips don't need quite as big of a zigzag. I just run a line down there. And we'll just... Now, all of my pieces are strips of designer series paper, but you could also work in strips of cardstock if you want solid, really solid colors. You could work those in. Now, as I get to this outside corner, I don't want to end with a really narrow piece. I want to end with a wider piece. So sometimes it might mean that I have to put two wide pieces together. And the reason for that is it's just a matter that those little tiny pieces, when you start chopping it up, it could, those little pieces might come off if they weren't glued down together really well. Oh no, where's the, here I am, I'm getting picky. And so this one right here, a wider strip is going to cover that up. And when you're trimming off the tails, a lot of times you'll get these little pieces left over, and they're good for just covering that up at the end. So then what I would do is I would just flip this around, because it's just the way that I work, and I would finish putting my strips out to the end. And then I'm going to put it under a book or some heavy punches and let it dry. So that's how it all starts. So I'm just going to put that aside because I've got one that's already done, and I did it yesterday, so it's been drying. And so now what we want to do is we want to cut off all of these tails. If you're really good and straight with a pair of scissors, you can use and just trim right along the edge, because we need it to be 3 by 4. So I don't want to cut into this paper. You could also, with your scissors, give you a nice straight cut, then take it to your trimmer and let the trimmer do the rest of it. But what we want with today's design is we want nice straight lines, because we are going to be putting these little squares next to each other with a little bit of white underneath. And if your lines aren't straight, you're gonna see them. So if you're good with scissors, I'm going to go ahead and cut off 2 sides, and then I'm going to, well, I'm going to just go ahead and trim all of it. I'm just going to take my time. But I will take the piece to my little guillotine trimmer and just square it up, because that little guillotine trimmer can just shave the finest lines of paper off, and I can get it really nice and a nice clean straight edge. Now when you've got this going on here, I throw the bigger pieces right back into my little tray. And these are really good size ending pieces for that little corner, so I'll save that. But I don't get really crazy on how small I'll save it. It's usually the wider pieces that I will save. All of this here, I'm gonna throw all of that away. But all of that goes back to the tray, so it seems like your little collection of scraps never really gets any smaller. It does while you're making your strip quilts, but then when you add the pieces back in, it's like, oh, you really didn't bust your stash that much. So now I'm just gonna come in, and I know I want this 3 inches wide. And so I'm just going to see how fine it can just shave off exactly what you need. And then this way, I'm going to have some really nice straight. Sometimes it doesn't take much off at all, but I still want a really nice straight edge. Okay. So now we've squared up our little quilt here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to cut this up into 1-inch squares. So you will need your trimmer. And I'm going to put 1 inch over to the right side of my trimmer. And this edge here should leave me, I should be on 2 inches. That way I know that I'm... And sometimes you just gotta kind of put it in, center it. This way my squares are very close to all being the same size. So I'm gonna cut 1 inch off. I'm just gonna set that to the side right now. And then I'm gonna move this over. I should have 1 inch on the left side, 1 inch on the right. And now we need 1 inch squares going this way. It doesn't really matter lining it up like this because you just need to cut 1 inch squares going the other way too. But I like to line everything back up. And then just set those aside. Move your pieces over and just continue cutting 1 inch squares. So instead of piecing all these little 1-inch squares, we created one big piece to begin with, and now we're just chopping it up. Okay. So we got all of our tiny little squares. I'm going to take a moment to see if I'm missing any questions. Hi, Barbara. Joanne. Hi, Donna. Tony. Good morning, good morning. Okay, so here we have our squares. And what we want to do in our pattern is, if our strips are slanting, I don't know, it depends on how you look at it. So I guess what we'll do is, what we want to do is, if the strips are going one direction, the one next to it, we want it to go to the opposite. So like what you can see here is, you might see the X that's forming. Do you see the X? That's what you're looking for when you're turning your pieces. Okay, and what you're going to do is, you're just going to play around with placement. Again, it's going to be 3 by 4. So just play around. And now your X, this will make an X, but when you come over to here, you're getting a square, or maybe you want to call it your O. See how if you put these two together, it makes a square, but if you look at these two, it makes an X. So you just want to make sure that they're just going different directions. Put that one there. And put maybe put and now this is creating an O, the O over here. That would be the X. It just flips back and forth. I don't want that one because that repeats. Maybe that one there. That one there. And maybe you don't want, if you see that there's a strip that you want more spread out, then you can change that, but I'm okay with that. So there's my design, and now we're going to bring in a sheet of or a piece of white cardstock that is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And we're going to start putting down, gluing down our squares. Now I'm just going to move these so I can bring in. What I like to do is, I like to start in the 4 corners. I want to make sure that, and it's going to be a thin border. It's going to be a thin border that you're going to leave around. But I like to get those in the 4 corners so that I make sure that I've got my border pretty even, because I'm really going to be going off of those pieces for the rest of the placement. So I'm just going to flip this over. Going to put some glue down. And then I'm going to put that back down, leaving that thin border. And I'm just going to do this corner and then these two bottom pieces. Really, you can put these down any way you want. I just like to see some movement, so when they're going different ways, I see movement in the quilt there. Again, I just want to make sure that I've got the same border. Okay, now what I like to do is I like to put the middle square at the top so that I can see, I can even out how much space is on both sides, because everything in the middle will kind of be going off of where this one's at, trying to keep me straight. Trying to keep my lines straight. The fun thing about this quilt is any boo-boos we can cover up by putting our embellishments on. So, and now I'll come down here and I'll put this one down. Just trying to even that out. Okay. So what you can fill it in as you want. I'm going to place these first just to make sure how much room I need to leave so that I can leave a white space. So leaving the one on there, I'll just go ahead and put this one on. Now it's just like doing a puzzle. Okay. Put that one on, and now I'll go to this one. And now you're just filling it in. And maybe don't put them down so hard that you can't move them a little bit. That one's gonna go there. Remember I had mentioned in the post that as far as choosing what your card base color is going to be, or your layering color, that you may want to just wait and see what color speaks to you. Well, that goes there. Oh. Well, last night when I looked at this piece that I chose, Calypso Coral spoke to me. So I thought, you know what? I don't want to take their whole day today. So I'm going to pick the Calypso Coral because it's speaking to me. And I'll cut my card base and my colors and stuff. And now, right now, the colors that I chose aren't speaking to me. I thought I could figure it out. That one's going to go there. But I've already got them cut. So it may be that by the time I get my flowers on and the other embellishments, that it might work out anyway. Okay, so there we have our pieces down. Just go ahead and set them. And how are we doing so far? Oh, okay, Jean. Hello? You're waiting in the parking. Oh, for Nash. Okay. Okay. So, when I bring in the pieces that I chose to work with, what do I got going on here? I chose this for my back. And this was the layer. You know, the layer works. The layer works. It brings out the yellow. So I chose So Saffron. And I think, oh, that still works with the Calypso Coral. Okay, I'm good. I was thinking, oh boy, wasn't even taking my own instructions. I'm telling them to do one thing and I'm just going about it another way. So what we can do is we can glue our patchwork here to our layer. And then I'm going to put my backing on and the inside to my card. Okay, I'm going to have to stand up. We'll see how wonky this is. That's not too bad, right? That's not too bad. That's not that wonky. I can live with that. So we'll set that right up there. Now I am going to put this in portrait mode because I did one in landscape. So I'm going to make this card in portrait mode to see what kind of feel it gives me. Let's crease that and let's put our backing piece on. Okay, and I've got my little button here, so we'll go ahead and put that on. Okay, and now we'll put our insert. Make sure I cut it down. Okay, so there's the inside. And we're going to put that there. So I can go ahead and I can glue this. Now this won't be an even border. You'll have the, like my top and my bottom are going to be a little bit wider. Okay, so there's that. Now bringing in the sample, I have taken a scrap piece of basic white and I put a little flag on the end. So this is going to come right about, I want to show a little bit of that. And because of my layers here, well, first I have to stamp my sentiment, but I'm going to have to put a mini glue dot right there because the different levels of layers here. If I was just to use glue, it's going to kind of like bow. But first, we got to stamp. And I'm going to use the same greeting, which is a little hello from me to you, and that's from the Pansy Patch. Oh, my mat is been used a lot here lately and is looking well loved. So I'm going to stamp in Calypso Coral. And I'm going to test it out here first. Okay. And I am going to have to stand to do this. And pull it closer to me. There we go. Not too bad for being on camera. I'm petrified to stamp sometimes because of just the position of my phone on my mount. It gets a little awkward, and I don't want to put my head in the frame. So I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so now I'll bring in my mini glue dots, or not mini glue dots, my mini dimensionals. I'm going to put one right on the back of that end. This is just going to help get it up to the height that it needs to go all the way across. And I'm gonna put it all the way over to the edge. Put that down. And then what I'll do is I'm going to put just a little bit of glue here. Just a dot. And then I'm just gonna tap that in place. So I don't have my greeting flying, flapping around all over. Okay. So we have that. And what I want to do is these little flowers are all from the Pierced Bloom dies that are retiring, and I'm so sad about it. I'm not going to quit using them because they're my favorite. And when it comes to quilt cards, these flowers mimic applique so well that that whole collection, I'm not going to quit using them just because they're retired. So I'm just going to look at my flowers here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mini dimensional on the backs of each one of these so that we have some dimensions to our card, not everything being so flat. And then all we've got left to do is just add a little bling, because I'm going to use embellishments for the center of the flowers. And the card will be done. And then I want to show you some other cards I made with that same 3x4 strip quilt, but I cut it differently. And just wanted to show you how versatile it is. You don't have to do 1-inch squares, but I did love the look of these 1-inch squares. Now you could have taken the 3x4, you could have run it through an embossing folder if you wanted to mimic quilting in your card. I really like, I'm happy with how flat the colors look. I did do 2 cards here to show you where I ran them through an embossing folder, and to be honest, I love just the way the designer series, the strips look of the designer series paper without even going through an embossing folder. So now I got to decide on what I want my center of my flowers to be. The iridescent, I don't know about the iridescent. I was thinking about pulling these green ones because it would help my greens pop out in my color. And it'll bring in one more color. Or, okay, so I don't think I want the iridescent. It's going to be between these brushed metallic dots or the genial gems. Kind of like the green. It's bringing out more color. What do you think? Paula, you're right. The macrame, the macrame folder would make a cute look because it's got the design of when we're creating. Oh, I don't have that folder. I'm going to have to get it now. Green? Okay, Holly. We'll go with green. I was thinking the same thing. Now, if I had chosen colors and this was looking masculine, then I think I would go ahead and use these because it would, giving it a more masculine feel. The metallics would be really nice. Oh, these are going to be so cute. You get back there in the center. There you go. Trying to use up a lot of my embellishments too, because with the new catalog, not all of my embellishments are carrying over. which doesn't mean they're not going to get used, or that I won't buy more because they're not going to be around, because they're my favorites. Oh, Holly, this is perfect. That is perfect. I'm glad you went with the green. I love that. Now, I don't know if I want to do a bow. I was going to see, it almost needs a bow. It almost needs a bow. The thing is, I don't know if I have, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be the baker's twine. I don't want so much going on with the embellishments that I lose the quilt pattern. So I went with baker's twine. And if I'm going to use ribbon, I guess I could just do a knot instead of a bow. That way I'm not, but I don't know. I would almost want to carry over that green right there. Does anybody know what this green might be? Is it soft? I don't know if it's soft seafoam. Trying to think of what I have as far as ribbon. I don't want to use soft. I've got soft succulent, but I don't want to use that. Well, the bow's going to have to wait. The bow's going to have to wait. I'm going to have to go back and see what I got. But do you like the card? Do you like the process? Yeah, Lori, a green bow, I agree, but I don't know if I got the right green. So, a lot of times, Tony, you think it's soft succulent or soft seafoam? Yeah. A lot of times you just need to walk away from it and come back to it later and finish it. You don't have to finish it all in the same sitting. So I'm gonna come back to this. You know what? I need to see what blends I have. And I know I've got white baker's twine. I might color my own baker's twine. And okay, so that's a project for later. Okay, I want to show you the other cards that I did, okay? So this card here, what I did was, when I cut those first 3 strips of 1 inch, I just left them the 1x4, matted them on a piece of cardstock, and then just staggered them on a, this is the Stitch Greenery die that's on the basic white. So here is just another way of using that small piece. So that's one way, a different way to do it. This one here isn't finished, but this one here it's still the 3x4, but I cut it diagonally, and I did not cut it diagonally that went with the direction of the strips. I did it the opposite. And then I took a 3 1/8 or 3 1/4. I can't remember now. I'm thinking it was 3 1/8 by 4 1/8 piece of cardstock. Did the same thing, cut it on the diagonal, and then this piece fit right inside of that right triangle. And I separated them and then just stamped the happy birthday. And the happy birthday could have gone in either direction. But this was another look from that 3x4. And then this one I was working on right before we went live, because I had the idea of, what if I just cut them 1.5 by 2? So what I did was I cut that 3x4 in half this way, and then in half by that way. Matted them with a little wider border. Used the Stitch So Sweetly die. And this still needs work, but it needs to talk to me. So All of my patterns are going still the same way. No matter how I turn them, I'm not going to get that X. But what I liked is I could make them into smaller pieces. So if I had little scraps, I could still use them in a card. So those are the different looks that you can get with that little 3x4 strip quilt. It's just a matter on chopping it up a little different, and then, you know, just finish it with embellishing. So I hope you liked today's project. There's one more thing I want to suggest. This is a 6x6. So if you've got a favorite one sheet wonder with a 6x6 piece of paper, then why not make your strip quilt 6x6 and then cut it down to whatever your favorite one sheet wonder is, and use the pieces to make, you know, however many cards your one sheet wonder does. Or make several and then mix them up and have more possibilities. But look at this as now you've created a sheet of designer series paper. You could even go as far as to make this bigger, and your strips might not be long enough, but when one strip ends, just add another one to create more interest, and then have that sheet by your side. And maybe you want to punch out a square, or you want to, I don't know, there's a die you want to use. But just create your own designer series paper with your leftover scraps, and then go to it whenever you want to add some interest. So I love how this turned out. I don't even know if I want to cut it up, but I love it because it looks like just such a cool, actually you're the designer. So it's your designer series paper. But yeah, think of one sheet wonders. Just create your own 6x6. So there are a lot of possibilities. I cannot wait to see what you come up with when you share your projects over in the card group, Quilt, Cards, and More. And if you haven't joined that little community, please request to join. We have a lot of fun over there, and we're always sharing not just our cards, but I like to share my birding experiences. I love to go birding. Any other crafts that look really interesting, that's where the and more comes in. So we like to share a little bit of everything. So Lori, you think the rectangles are your favorite? The long rectangle? These or the little rectangles? Oh, wait. Okay, whoa. Mary tried the macrame, and it looks great. Thank you, Paula. Oh, that's awesome. Can't wait to see it, Mary. You're going to have to. And Karen, the rectangles are speaking to you too. Okay. Interesting. You know, it does get a little, when you're wanting to be a little perfect by your spacing and stuff, I can see where this might not be the favorite. I love the look because of the directions that you can change. You can change the direction of your strips, but again, makes for a quick card. Now this one isn't quilted. This one I ran through the Ornate Garden embossing folder, and this one here, you can't really see it, but it's the new floral embossing folder. And I guess the best way to describe it for me Have you ever had a quilt come back from your machine, your long arm quilter? And yes, you can see the quilting, but your fabrics are still also nice and flat. If you can get what I'm saying. And then you wash the quilt. And you get all the little pillowing and the puckers, all the feels of, that's when, for me, the quilt is, it takes on a warmth and you just want to wrap yourself up in it because of all the little puckers where the stitching is. That's the feel I get when I have run it through an embossing folder. It softens the colors to me and gives it that warmth and that comfy feeling where I want to look at my quilt on my bed with it being like the fabric's still just like perfect. It doesn't have the gathers and the puckers from when you washed it in the cotton, and the putting it in the dryer or whatever starts making the little puckers. So it's weird. It may just be me, but I think the feel is like pre-washing, washing and drying. So if you're a quilter, you may get that, but this is before washing and this is after washing. And for me, quilts have a different feel before and after. Just the feeling that it gives me. So, oh, you're welcome, Paula. Can't wait to see when you try it what you came up with. Oh, thank you, Doris. Yes, I love the flowers. And this one isn't done yet. And maybe what it needs is one of the bigger pierced bloom flowers right here, and maybe a couple of leaves would really set this off. And I think I might try that. So don't be afraid to work in other elements to just to finish off your quilts. Oh, you're welcome, Vesta. I hope everybody... Oh, and Vesta, I just saw that your one word comment rectangle, you can use, now this hasn't been chopped up yet, but you could still use this in a card. This could be a background layer to maybe some florals down here, and don't even chop it up. You could use this just the way it is. So endless possibilities. Donna, the green was mint macaron. Why do I always forget about mint macaron? It's perfect. It went perfect. But thank you for looking that up, Donna. Is this petal pink then? I think these look, this looks like petal pink. Thank you for looking that up for us. Holly, you're welcome. You're welcome, Kathy. And Josephine. Everybody, have a blessed day. And share your creations over in the private group. We will really be looking forward to it. And I will see, hopefully, a lot of you again tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to put the March barn quilt cards together. So I got a double header, just like Mindy said. So I will be back this evening. Everybody have a really good day.